Schwartz, and I met Corley when he was 31 years old. And I got to start with a little anecdote that makes me cry and get that over with. 7 years ago, I saw Rich Gibbon playing in a brass quintet in my town, and I said hello to him, and I said, do you know the whereabouts of Sue Gross? I had a crush on his high school, not classmate, but schoolmate Sue Gross. The way he looked at the sky, I thought, gee, maybe he had a crush on her too. I looked her up, the piano teacher, Sue Gross, found her in Palo Alto, and she told me that Bob had died. She had heard from someone about it a little bit. And of course, it was a confusion with John's death, but I didn't know that. So we grieved together by email for about 3 days and recounted stories about Bob Corley. And then I dialed him and he answered. And she and her sister called, and I think visited Bob afterwards. Is that right? They come to see you and so crying's over. It was 5th grade in Marblehead, Massachusetts. We have the Marblehead contingent right here, Bob Newman and Judy Cotter. And it was time in 5th grade to pick instruments. Well, my mother insisted I couldn't just do that at school. Let's have Mr. Corley over. And he came over with a clarinet and a cello and a trombone. And of course, I picked the one with the moving parts. Didn't know he was a trombonist. That's how it started. We played through elementary school, and like a encouraging, positive music educator, which he always was, he encouraged me to play solos and to play in an ensemble. We played Battle Hymn of the Republic in that auditorium at the Glover Elementary School that we went to. Once we got that performance bug, he had us hooked. But after the 3 years, Bob moved to Weston, and we were heartbroken when the Weston Public Schools stole him from us. And believe me, we took out our frustrations on his nice, mild successor, Mr. Harris. Fortunately, Mr. Harris was also a trombonist, so he got some respect from us. Second year in high school, 1958, Bob was, as the obituary says, part of the board that formed and the Greater Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra. By the way, a Marbleheader proposed that name at the first rehearsal. And there we met kids from Weston who we envied. Bob came back in my musical life at the Amherst Summer Music Center, which Rich went to, and Sue went to.
Yes.
And so did John Corley. That's where, at age 16, I got exposed to brass music. It was hard playing for John Corley, these Robert King arrangements. Now we take them out and sight read them and love them. But in retirement, of course, Bob became conductor of the first junior orchestra at Gypsum. But in Bob's retirement, he mentored adults, talked about his role of mentoring band leaders and selling the music at Carl Fisher and then at Northeastern for Robert King. Two things Bob did for me in his very old age that were very reinforcing and encouraging and exemplify his positivism. I sent him a book that I had edited of Bordoni with piano accompaniments. And I phoned him in Florida to ask him, did you try playing them? He said, no, I just sang and hummed along with them, but thank you for making me feel like a musician again. Jack Coffey told me I must tell that story. What more positive reinforcement could you have? And my final anecdote about Bob came when I was serving on the board of directors of the Boston Youth Symphony Orchestras, and I was the only director who voted against the name change. They got rid of the grader. And Bob was, with one word, banished my feelings of guilt and obligation to the alumni left, not preserving the traditional name. He said, unimportant. Something my father would say. With one word, suddenly the weight of responsibility dropped. So positive encouragement